Yo, what's going on, snipers, and welcome back to our New York Islanders franchise mode here in NHL 25. So in last episode, if you did not catch it, we had the draft and re-sign stage, and on the re-sign stage, we made some pretty decent contracts, in my opinion, to basically give ourselves a chance, hopefully, with some of these young guys developing into pretty good players. So I'm pretty excited with what we were able to do. We got Crane on a nice little contract here. He's just making over $7 million, which is a little bit of a prove-it deal for him. Obviously, he's getting paid a lot of money, but I think he should be able to produce at a good level. And yeah, for 6 years, I think it's a no-brainer considering he's only 22 years old. So very happy with that contract. Another one I was very happy with was Houghton, who we got back for just under $8 million, which I think is a pretty good steal for what he could bring offensively for us. So I like this contract a lot. I think he could be a future number one defenseman once Noah Dobson potentially leaves the team, just because he had some really good offensive numbers this season with 54 points and only a -1. So I think he could definitely be maybe a future Norris winner if he continues to develop his offensive attributes, which so far look really, really good at this point in time. We also managed to get, what was it? I think there was another prove-it deal. I can't remember who it was for. Oh yeah, Sal Malainen, 3-year deal at $2 million, and then he becomes an RFA again at the end of it. So I think that's a nice little contract for him, just to see how he fits in basically with our defensive core. And obviously, then at the end of it, he's still an RFA, so we could obviously qualify him or give him a long-term deal depending on how he's performing with our rosters. So I like that contract as well. And then from our goaltending perspective, we did give a prove-it deal to Solovyov, 2-year deal at $5.2 million before he becomes a pending UFA, which is a bit scary, but at the same time, I think this is a good little contract just to see what he could do for us going forward, because so far he has been getting better every season, but I am a little bit worried that he isn't going to become that goaltender that we were expecting. Like, as you can see, the last 3 seasons in his NHL career, an .891, an .897, and an .898. Like, he doesn't have a save percentage over 900 in the regular season at this point in time. He did play 70 games this year, which is quite a bit of workload. But I think over this year and years to come, he should be getting closer to being a goaltender that's above a 900, and maybe he could win a Vezina at some point, but obviously it's still going to be a long shot just because he hasn't been that guy yet, and he has no playoff experience too, so we don't really know what he could do in the postseason. So hopefully he could get to the postseason at some point so we can kind of see how he is for us as well. So anyways, that was that. So anyways, before we get into the rest of this off season and seeing what we are able to snag up in terms of free agents, in terms of what our coaching staff is going to look like next season, that type of thing, let's get in your guys' comments and see what you guys have to say about the last episode, and then we'll get into maybe making some interesting decisions and hopefully surrounding maybe some of our younger guys with some better talent. So the first 2 comments are from Dylan Burrows. The first one says, I think you banged yourself up with Solovyov. If he's good, he'll want $12+ million, and if you don't give it to him, he'll walk. If he's bad, and you got to find yourself a new goalie. I also think that if we're not in a playoff position by the deadline, Dobson should be a trade piece. Loads of value in turning 33 shortly. He's only going to drop off, and that's kind of true with Dobson. We probably will have to look to flip him at some point if this team's obviously not contending. The one thing that's a little bit worrisome is with his contract, he does have still that no movement clause. So basically, in order to actually trade him, we will have to get him to waive this no movement clause. But there definitely is a strong argument to having to move him at some point in time, depending if our team's competitive or not. I think when I've seen Dobson retire in franchise mode before, he retires at like 36 years old. So he probably doesn't have a long time left in his NHL career before he actually starts to decline. He has been a pretty consistent defenseman for us in terms of point production with like 60+ points, but obviously if we're not contending soon, we might as well try and capitalize on his value if he wants to be moved, which there is a chance that he could want to get moved just because our team hasn't been as good since those days when we were making the playoffs and that type of thing. So we will obviously have to try that if for some reason our team isn't doing good, just because he will start to lose value as he ages basically, and also as his contract gets closer to being a free agent. So definitely have to make that decision within the next year or so. And then he was mentioning about the Solovyov contract being not that great. I feel like it's an okay one because if I would have committed it to him long term already, it could have been like a contract that keeps us like basically stuck in the mud for a long, long time. But instead, we gave him a prove it deal. Obviously, we're gonna have to give him a ton of money potentially after these 2 years if he's doing really well. But at the same time, it's not a huge issue to me if we lose him as well, though, because we do have other goalie prospects as well. And we could always find free agents and stuff to replace him too. So it's not a huge issue if we have to let him go, but I definitely think he's going to probably start to play a little bit better just because the years that he has been playing as our starting goalie and our backup goalie and that type of thing has been when our team hasn't been that super strong yet. So maybe if this team starts to develop really well, he'll start to develop with the team and also play really good in net. Dylan also says Podkolzin I think would be a great addition as well, either a good third or an incredible fourth liner on that right wing side of things, which I think I agree with you. I didn't really look too much into Podkolzin, but let's go over to free agents and see what Podkolzin is looking like because we do need more right wingers. Like we need to sign basically one roster forward, and then we also need to sign ourselves 2 depth forwards. So we'll probably do that as well. But in terms of the right wing side of things, if we scroll down here, Podkolzin's looking pretty okay. He's an 82 overall, doesn't want a ton of money. He does want a little bit of term. Obviously, I could just knock this down a bit, or I could just change this to like a 2-year deal. But he's 31 years old at this point in time. And from a production standpoint, he's not a huge offensive threat, like 30 points this last season. But aside from that, he's not a huge offensive threat. But he could definitely help us, I feel like, maybe a bit on the defensive side of things. Hasn't played a lot in the playoffs either. Maybe more of a playoff guy than a regular season guy based on his production. Because 12 points in 46 playoff games versus 155 points in 626 games is, I feel like, a little bit better. His shooting percentage does drop off a bit. So I think regardless, I'll probably just end up bringing him in just because we do need more right wing help. So it just gives us a bit more depth at right wing side of things because at the moment, our right wing core would be like, what is this? The players that we have on the right wing side of things. I think it's Bjorkstrand, who normally plays center. We're obviously going to have him back on the right wing side of things, and then it's Cook, of course. So it basically just gives us 3 solid right wingers, and then hopefully that helps us assimilate a little bit better in terms of offense, defense, and stuff like that, and the bottom 6 and that type of thing. So yeah, I think we'll probably definitely look into Podkolzin for sure. The next comment is from Ben Paetke, who says, I feel like you have enough talented prospects that it's time to start signing some good players to surround them with to give them some growth. So he wants me to sign some good players to basically surround our young guys, which is kind of what we're doing with Podkolzin. We aren't necessarily going after a huge fish in terms of free agents, but I think a lot of these guys are going to start developing. And I don't want to sign anybody too good because they're also maybe one of our guys we get sheltered minutes. But obviously we are going to start surrounding probably our younger guys eventually with some good talent because there is a lot of good players in the minors still too that are eventually coming up. Like you can look at all this potential that we have in our unsigned guys in the AHL system, and in the NHL you can see like we have a ton of elite players as well. So I don't think we really need too much more in terms of prospects unless some guys start to not develop the way we want to. So definitely we will try and surround some of these guys with some decent players to hopefully make them start growing better and also getting good production. The next 2 comments are from Matthew Benger. The first one says, Giordano would be a nice head coach for the AHL, which I think would probably be a good idea. So I think we were looking at potential coaching options for the AHL because we do need to get that AHL coaching staff to being a little bit better. And so that way our prospects are getting growth. So we could fire basically our head coach currently in the AHL, which how good of a fit is he? Was 32. And Brody, we got demoted him. I could always just fire Brody potentially. We do have a current contract out for Bo Horvat. I think that was for NHL associate coach though. So yeah, let's go to the AHL here. And who do I want to fire the 2 of these guys? Let me look at them a little bit more in depth here if I can. It's not got a good idea on these guys. Let's get rid of Brody because he's unhappy here anyways. So we'll fire him. And we'll temporarily demote Howden to associate coach in the AHL. And then we'll basically try and find ourselves a new AHL head coach, which Matthew was mentioning about Giordano. So we might as well just go ahead and offer Giordano a contract already if I could find him. Maybe I'll just sort this by alphabetical order just to make it a bit easier. But yeah, we got to hope that we could get the AHL team growing a little bit, obviously, because some of the prospects haven't grown that much. Giordano doesn't look the best, to be honest, as an AHL head coach. He says that he would look good as an AHL head coach, but The thing is, he's rated C overall. That's a bit worrisome to me for an AHL head coach being only a C rated. Because if we go back to AHL head coaching options, there's probably a better option out there, I would assume, in terms of overall. Yeah, there's B minuses. Yeah, maybe that would be okay. Let me go back to teaching grade so we could look at this. Maybe this is where Giordano was good. Maybe not. I feel like we might have to go for somebody else other than Giordano. Just because Giordano does not seem like he's a good overall and doesn't have the best teaching grade. Like, where is his teaching grade out of curiosity? Like, if we sort this again by alphabetical, where is Giordano's teaching grade at currently? Like, he doesn't have bad special teams, but 5-on-5, it doesn't seem great. His teaching's a C. So, yeah, I don't think he's probably the best option. Probably the best option would be going with somebody like this who has good coaching influence and stuff like that as well. I don't know how good of a fit this Hamill guy is, though. 32% as well. We probably want to go for a Clarence Gertzen, who I was mentioning about in the last episode. So I think we're going to actually go for Gertzen here. Would it be nice to have Giordano as a head coach in the AHL? For sure, but I just don't think right now he's that type of guy. If he starts growing into like a B coach, then maybe I'll take him on. But for now, I think Clarence Gertzen's got to be the guy down in the minors. So we'll give him a contract and see if he wants to become that next AHL head coach. And hopefully he does. Matthew also says you might want to bring in a forward and defense coach for the farm to help get them development. So he also wants me to bring in some other coaches for the AHL. So we already have a forward coach in Howden. Basically, we just demoted. That guy I just offered a contract to. If I go back to AHL head coaches here, and Gertzen, let's just find him again. Let's see. Gertzen was a generalist. We probably want to find a defense coach as well here as the assistant. And then obviously we'll need a goalie coach, but we won't sign that till we have our coaching staff in order at the start of the season, if I remember, that is, because I honestly could forget. But let's see if there's any coaches that actually are a good defenseman coach here that also have good teaching grades. It looks like Yashin is probably that type of guy because he's a B- in that area. So we'll bring in Yashin, which is kind of funny considering we're the Islanders. Let's bring him in as an AHL assistant coach to hopefully help with the AHL defensive core getting maybe some growth. And yeah, that would be nice if that was the case. And the last and final comment is from Sarantaku, says, I really like the bridge/prove-it contract, so I think you did really well with the signings. The draft will either be decent or a complete wash if none of those top four defensemen develop. It seems that medium nines have a better track record for panning out than low sixes. Find someone cheap for the third line right wing and use Pratt as defensive depth and you should be fine. So yeah, we'll probably end up using Pratt for sure as depth defenseman in the NHL this year just because he hasn't really grown a lot in the AHL. So might as well give him a chance at the NHL levels of depth defenseman and maybe he could actually get some playing time and prove that he's actually worth being up there in the NHL. So aside from that, let's go back to our free agent pool and sign Podkolzin for sure as one of the options. We do need, I think, a cap whale still, which is kind of funny because our roster's looking pretty nice in my opinion. Yeah, we need some cap whales, so we probably could overpay on some of the depth options. Like, we'll give Podkolzin what he's asking for maybe, but some of the depth options that we only signed for a year, I'll give like $6-7 million to, so that way we could be a bit more cap compliant. So let's go over to depth forwards here first and foremost. Actually, let's just do Podkolzin's contract first. I guess that would be easier. So what do we want to do with Vasily Podkolzin? He's already 31, so he is kind of a little bit on the older side of things. Does he like 1-year deals? He's okay with 1-year deals. 2-year deals would be okay with for me as well. I feel like a 1-year deal might be okay. I know it's not that long term, but there might be some better right wingers we could sign next offseason and that type of thing. So let's do a 1-year deal for Podkolzin. And let's just give him a lot more money. That will also help us with our cap situation a bit. So we'll give him 3.25 as our third line right winger for a year. And hopefully he's willing to accept that. So there's a contract offer sent to Podkolzin. And then in terms of the depth forwards we'll bring in, some of these guys might not even play. Some of them might just be completely scratched because we do have a lot of guys jumping from the AHL. So I don't want to sign anybody too good. So one guy I will sign, I guess, is probably going to be Emil Hemming. He's not bad. That's another Finnish player to add to our roster. So we might as well add him. He's 78 at 26, and that way he can kind of compete with some of those other guys a bit. But we will give him a one-way deal, and we will probably give him maybe $8 million to basically be a depth forward for us. which is a lot of money, obviously, but that will help us with the cap situation for now. And obviously, he will not get that type of money again next offseason. But let's do 1 year, $8 million, and he'll obviously immediately accept that. So welcome aboard to Emil Hemming. We probably should find somebody that can win faceoffs as a depth option as well. So let's go down here and see if there's any young guys I would be willing to bring in. There was that Zykov guy, but is he listed as a depth forward? He is. Zykov's kind of interesting because he could be a good one to compete with some of the other dudes. So, you know what? I'm going to go for Zykov. Considering he's only 25, we might as well find somebody relatively young, right? And we'll give him the same amount of money. And hopefully that's enough money to get us close to the cap floor. If we need more cap whales, we'll sign some more for the AHL. But we obviously want to make sure that we have a lot of money still freed up in case we make trades this year, that type of thing. So $8 million for Zykov as well, and he's on board. We have $27 million in cap space. We are obviously pending $3 million in contracts to put Colson. We might still need another depth option. We'll come back to that once put Colson hopefully accepts, and that way we could see if we need more money to be spent or not. I'm trying to think if we need anything in terms of our NHL coaching staff here, because I was thinking about getting a new NHL head coach, wasn't I? Because Straka obviously was okay, but he was not great. Like, he was an okay fit, but he just did not simulate get well for our team. Yeah, where can I take a look at his record here, or his stats? Why can't I take a look at his stats in the offseason? That's weird. Unless it's lagging. Wait. Is there a delay here? No, there is not. That's strange. But last season, actually, he only had the one season, so 36, 40, and 6 record. Yeah, he was not super good. So we probably, for the time being, maybe want to demote him. But actually, we are waiting on Bo Horvat as the associate coach of this team. So maybe we'll wait a little bit first and then see about our actual head coaching job. Yeah, I think that's what we'll do. We'll wait a few days just to see if those guys accept, and then we can maybe fire a coach or something like that and make sure we have a good coaching staff for next season. Because if our coaching staff is good, I think this team definitely has a better chance of simulating a little bit better next season. So let's advance the first few days. Bo Horvat says that he doesn't like our staff chemistry, apparently, so we got to go back and try and get Bo again, which is kind of unfortunate. Gertzen is on board as the AHL head coach, which is nice to see. So at least we got one of the two coaches. But Bo coming back is something I still want, though, because obviously he used to play for our team. So we got to get Bo back, if possible, to this organization. He probably just doesn't want to join us because obviously we traded him away at one point, but we're going to find a way to get him in as our assistant coach, and maybe he could be even a head coach for this team at some point in time. But let's go back to his associate. Yeah, associate. Let's just give him a shit ton more money than he's asking for, because that's the easy way to get a guy to accept. The most we could give him is 2.1. So we can't give him a ton of money, but we'll see if he'll accept the 2.1. And if he doesn't accept that, then we might not be able to bring back Bo to this organization just yet, which kind of sucks, but we'll see what ends up happening. Let's continue to advance a few days. We just got to wait on the word on Pekolzin, which we should find out soon. Yashin decides to go to the Milwaukee Admirals instead as an AHL coach. So unfortunately, we need to find ourselves a different coach for that assistant job or whatever it was. And Pekolzin is on board to join our NHL team, okay? A little bit tougher than I was expecting with some of these coaches. So we still need that assistant coach job in the AHL field. So if we go back to AHL head coaches, let's see if we could find somebody to fit that job a little bit better. So we're looking for one with like a defensive thing, which that coach just went. There's nobody else though. Unless we go to assistants. Yeah, there's assistants like that. Okay, maybe we could actually find some still. But none of them are going to have super good ratings. That's the only problem because they're associate coaches and all that. But we probably should still find somebody that's actually defensive. So let's go for this guy since he's the best rated. Krejcik. Oh, it's a woman. Okay, Veronica Krejcik. Sorry about calling you a man. I mean, you could still be, but I honestly don't know. I'll just give you a ton more money, and hopefully you join us as an assistant coach. And that way we have at least 3 of those coaches filled up. And then hopefully we get Bo Horvat's answer here soon. But are we cap compliant with Pekolzin accepting? I want to know about that. Let's see. I think we're a little bit below still, so we probably need to sign one more cap whale, which I guess I'll just sign a depth defenseman. That will probably be sent to the AHL. I don't really know, to be honest, but just got to find one more depth option for this team. and basically just give them more money than they obviously should be getting. But that way we'll actually be cap compliant again. At some point we won't have to deal with this though, because we'll have a good enough roster. But so we'll just bring in the Solberg guy, and we'll give him like $8 million as well. Just because we're generous, we have a lot of money. Might as well give a lot of these guys $8 million to just play in the AHL or even as the NHL depth options. So what this guy's first name even pronounced as? Stein? I don't think I've ever seen that as a first name, Stein. It must be a real guy, but I honestly have no idea who he is. That's an interesting name. So Solberg's on board, and now we should be cap compliant. Hypothetically, let's just double check. On that front, yes, we're over the cap floor. Okay, that's good. That is good, because I just don't want those contracts getting adjusted and that type of thing. The question is Bo going to join our team as a coach? He is. Okay, so we gave him more money, and he has joined our team. Do we want to find ourselves an actual new head coach as well? Probably. Where's his assistant? We do need a... Actually, we do already have our goalie coach. I think I'm going to demote Straka down to... Because we do have a pending offer sent out. No, we don't. I thought we sent an offer out to an assistant coach. Didn't I? I thought I already just gave out a contract to an assistant coach. It doesn't say I have any pending offers, though. That's strange. I feel like I do. But maybe I don't. Let's just demote our current head coach down to AHL goalie coach and see if there's any better options for our head coaching job on our team. I might come back to this at the start of the season, though, too. But let's see what we got. 56% with Ricky Odell's pretty good. At least for right now. 57% on Jalen Jenks. I like his name. His style is more physical. He's pretty good percentage. Works really well with Dobson. Solid with Frundell. Mackinnon's up there. Cook's up there. Boyd. You know what? Yeah, let's go for Jalen Jenks. He might not even be our NHL coach this season, but let's give him a contract. And obviously we could demote some coaches and stuff like that if we have to. But I think that's a good offer. Yeah, we do have 2 contracts offered, it says now. It was kind of glitched out. I don't know if I should fire one of those coaches instead of just demoting, because or else we aren't going to be able to move stuff around. Rizzy wasn't a great fit here, but he is a higher overall. He's better as a defensive coach. Defenseman, goalies. We probably need a forward coach in there, which we just found I don't know. Let's just leave Straka there for now. I'll see if I need to fire anybody soon, but a lot of tough decisions with the coaching staff here. Krejcik is in for the HL, so that's good. I know I've wasted like 20 minutes trying to get these coaches, and Jenks is on board as well. Likes the financial compensation, so we have basically all 8 coaches. I just want to see if we need to get rid of anybody. I feel like a generalist, a defensive coach, and a forward coach would be good. So I'm almost debating firing the A+ coach. That way we basically have just a mix of everything here. Because Rizzy wasn't a great fit eventually after a while. Let me just see if I could see his stats here. No, I can't even go into his... Oh, and I can. It doesn't even say the press A there, though, which is weird. But yeah, his 2 years that he's been here, he hasn't been that great. He was in the playoffs with us the years before that, though, it says. I think I'm going to fire him. I know it's kind of a weird one because he's an A+ coach, but I think I'd prefer to have a forward coach as an assistant. So that way we have generalist, defenseman, forward, goalies. So I think we'll run with that. We can obviously promote people and demote people and all that stuff when we get to the actual start of the season, but I think we're good in terms of everything. So let's sim up to next season. We're obviously going to simulate some of the season in this episode. Not too much, but I do want to simulate a little bit just so we can kind of see at least how this team performs a little bit with the new guys in the roster. Because this team is going to be kind of a little bit barren, maybe a bit in the bottom 6, just because we are going to be using probably guys like Lindros, Kaminsky, a lot of the guys that we signed a few years back, because they have been developing kind of decently. There might be also some tougher decisions, like maybe we have too much young guys on defense. We might need to start flipping people before the start of the actual season, which means maybe I don't simulate any of the season. So we will probably have some good internal competition on this roster to get into certain roster spots and maybe make some tough decisions on who should be scratched and who shouldn't be. But I'm excited. I think this is going to be a fun year. I hope that obviously we could start getting back to the playoffs soon, but I'm not too sure if that's on the agenda this season or if we actually want to think about trading away Dobson if this team's not performing that well. Like, we definitely still have to get him to waive his clause, which is going to be kind of tough, but obviously that's something that we could lean in towards doing if our team isn't simulating the best. All right, so let's go to edit lines here, and let's make sure we have the right guys in the NHL, the right guys in the AHL. So in terms of our goaltending, obviously we don't have to make any adjustments there. Solovyov and Bjarnason. Medvedov is up to a 77, so Medvedov could hypothetically be our backup next season, which is kind of nice. So that is good that he'll be maybe replacing Bjarnason at some point. From a defensive standpoint, Dobson, Hotinen, we have Boyd, Salmelainen. Pekker's up to an 81. Love to see that. Sierra and Solberg, who we signed as a depth option, is up to a top 6. Don't know if I like that he's listed as a top 6. I want to call up Pratt here. And I'd have to send... I can't just call up Pratt. So we'll call up Pratt for a second here. But then that gives us the 8 defensemen, right? Oh, yeah, it does give us 8 defensemen. So I will have to send down Solberg, who we just kind of as a depth option. It's because I would prefer to use Pratt as that depth option. Now we have everybody that would be happy in terms of ice time, which is good. From a right wing perspective, Cook, Podkolzin, Hemming, who just got signed. Wallace is getting pretty close to being ready too, which is nice, but he will be back in the AHL for at least one more season. From a left wing perspective, Frundell, Cranes, Shada, and Oland. That's fine with me. Center perspective, Poitras, Makinen, Bjorkstrand is a right winger for us though. Zykov, Lindros, and Kaminsky. Eriksson is listed still as a minor scoring forward, which is okay kind of with me, so maybe I leave him down there for one more season. He is taking a little bit longer than I was expecting to develop, but the fact that he's a minor scoring forward, we don't necessarily need to rush him. He's only 21. We could have him and Leahy run the AHL again, so I think I'm okay with Kaminsky, obviously, and Lindros being more depth options if they need to be, but this is going to be interesting. We actually have a roster space to call up one more person, I think it said, which is interesting, but I don't know who I would use as that other option on the depth forward side of things, because I think it's a depth forward that we need, right? Yes, we need a depth forward. Who am I going to use as that other depth forward? I'm not going to use Eriksson or Wallace. Yeah, I'm going to have to probably sign somebody else here. I could always call up Buzaz as that other option, to be honest, for now, and then you guys can see if there's anything in free agency. Yeah, I think, you know what, that might actually be what we end up doing. Just call Buzaz for the time being. Actually, but we are going to simulate some of the season in this episode, so maybe I should just go to free agency and find another option here as that other depth forward. So let's go ahead and do that. We have the cap space, so let's go do that before we actually get to the season. So if we go here and go to, where is it? Where is the free agency portion? There it is. Let's see what we got here. So in terms of overall rating, Porter Martone is still an RFA, it looks like, at the moment, right? Yeah, damn. That would be an interesting player to have, but honestly, he doesn't fit. He actually could fit our team, probably. But I honestly don't think I want to steal him from Columbus. I don't think so. What else we got here? We could bring back Games. This guy was our depth option last year, I think, right? Didn't play a single game with us. You know what? We'll bring him in as the other depth option here. So that way we have multiple depth options in the NHL. So Games is back. And we'll go back to roster moves and make sure he's in the NHL. We're getting close, though, at least to starting up the season sim. I know it's been a little bit because I just took too much time doing all this stuff in the offseason, but going to be an exciting year. It's going to be an exciting year. So if we go to edit lines here, what do we want to rock for our forward group? So Makinen, Frundell, Cook probably still makes the most sense. Crane, Poitras, and Bjorkstrand would be our second line. Podkolzin, we could probably go with, let's see, Dawson Lindros is a 73 at faceoffs. Kaminsky, 79. And then Zykov is an 80. We could always put Zykov there. Oland can't take face-offs, so that's probably okay. Who would I prefer in that spot? They're both two-way forwards. Offensive awareness, Zykov's better, so we'll move Zykov up and move Kaminsky there. So that looks good. Lindros technically isn't a right winger, but I mean he can probably play right wing because he's a right-handed shot. And then we could take out Hemming here, and I don't know why Shala's all the way down here. Shala should easily be playing, so Shala's going to push Olin down to the 4th line, which is okay. Yeah, I don't mind that. That actually looks pretty damn good. Looks pretty damn good. Frindell, Mackinac, Cook, Karain, Poitras, Bjorkstrand, Shala, Zikov, Bakolzin, Kaminsky, Oland, and Lindros. That's not bad. So the old young guys from the AHL are in. All these former high-up picks of teams that they just let go of. I don't mind that. They have actually some okay chemistry too. And then from a defensive standpoint, we'd be running... okay, that looks a little bit better. Here we go. That's the defensive pairings for sure. So we'd be running Sierra and Pecker on that top 6. And we'd be running Salmelainen, Hotman, Dobson, Boyd. Goalies, Soloviev, Bjarnason. Let me just take a look at the power play briefly. Mackin and Crane, Frindell, Houghton, and Dobson. That's not too bad. Second pairing, our lines, Poitras, Zikop, Bakolzin, Bjorkstrand, Cook. I feel like Cook should be on the first unit, almost. But that might be okay. We'll try it for the start of the year. Kaminsky on the penalty kill, Zikov on the PK, Bjorkstrand on the PK. Not bad. I don't mind it. Okay, so I think that's actually not that bad. I'll obviously look at the other coaches and see the scheme fit, but this coach actually looks decent for us. And then from an AHL perspective, let's just go best lines for second tier. Let's move Leahy up. Erickson could be on the second line, I guess. And then we could run Wallace. We could run Prince on that line again, like we did last season. Leg could go up. This Prince probably should be high in the lineup too. We should probably put Giordano actually on the top line, because he is a low elite. So let's do that instead for a little change here. Because this Prince does play center. That looks good. Bobolev could be probably 4th line, I guess. Even though it's a bit weird having him down there. And then from a defensive standpoint, obviously Latinen, who we just drafted, could be high up. We'll move George up for a second. We'll move Franson actually up too. Solberg doesn't have anybody to replace him. Okay, that's all for defense. And then goaltending, Medvedov, Nikulin. We are good. We are good. So Giordano, Leahy, and Wallace. I like that. Okay. I think we're ready to start simulating some of the season. I do also want to go first and foremost, though, to the contracts, because there is a pretty big contract extension we got to do this offseason, and that's Anton Frindell, who's a pending UFA. He's pretty much the face of this rebuild, so I need to get him locked up. He only wants a 1-year deal right now. He's not have any interest in an 8-year extension, so we got to show him that this team could win games. If you go 8 years, he wants $17 million bucks, so I don't even know if we're going to be able to afford him long term. We might be only able to get him to another 6-year deal, but he has no interest in anything above 6 or 5 years. So that's kind of scary. So we'll probably wait a little bit, but he's going to probably have a big year this year, so I want to get him locked up potentially in this episode. It might be in the next episode, but we are definitely going to have to pay a lot of money to him, which is unfortunate. But like I said, he is kind of the face of this rebuild, so I would like to have him on this team as long as possible. So Jalen Jenks, I didn't actually take a look at how good of a fit he was for this team first and foremost, but he thinks this team's good enough to make the playoffs. So that's kind of interesting. So if this team is able to make the playoffs, that'd be great. That would be great. I got to take a look at the team fit with this coach first and foremost. We'll take a look at the other coaches maybe as well, but Jalen Jenks might be our new head coach for the season. So let's take a look at the fit here and see if it's good enough. If we go to, where's the damn coaching stuff? My brain is really scrambled for some reason today, and I don't know what it is. Maybe I'm just overtired, but let's see. Jalen Jenks, A- coach. Let's take a look. 63, that's not too bad, actually, to be honest. Yeah, you know what? I think I'll keep it like that. And then Bo Horvat's obviously behind the bench. We have Straka, who was our head coach, behind the bench. We have a new goalie coach. We almost have a full AHL coaching staff. I think we're ready to go. So let's see if this team is good enough to be a playoff team. So obviously we're going to simulate probably like the first half of the season around in this episode. Depends on how good we're doing, but let's hope that we can get off to a good start this year. If we can get off to a good start, we could definitely make the playoffs. So I think our defensive core is stronger than last year because it has been growing. Our goaltending hopefully is better than last year. And our offensive core, I think we've made some good moves and some good adjustments in terms of calling up some players. And I think this team can potentially make the playoffs. We have a 6-1 preseason, so hopefully that's a good sign of things to come. Let's take a look at some player stats from that preseason, just to see if we're getting the right numbers from the right guys. So Frundell on 10 points was great. Makinen was great. Looks like everybody was doing good in the preseason, to be honest. Pecker even had 4 assists. All right. I'm excited to see what this team could do. I really am. And then the goaltending numbers, Solovyov was perfect in the preseason with a .937. So is this a big year for Solovyov coming? Is it a big year, or is he just showing off his numbers against random AHLers in the preseason? Let me go back to the contract thing and see what Frundell's asking for now, potentially. See if it's changed a bit. Okay, he's okay with an 8-year deal now. That's why you don't give it deals before the start of the season. He's okay with an 8-year deal, and it would only cost us like 10.8, maybe even less than that. So we should be able to get Frundell back. I actually should just give him what he's asking for at 10.8. I feel like that's not even that bad enough an offer. And I just don't want to jip him off too much that he ends up not liking our contract and demanding more as the season goes on. So, you know what? I'm going to give him exactly what he's asking for. I think he's worth that money. So, he has been the heart and soul guy of the team. We want him here for his entire career, potentially. But I think that would be a good contract if he accepts it. Obviously, we could have maybe given him a bit of a discount, but I'd prefer to hold on to him long term and keep him happy as well, because he's our captain, right? All right, so he already has accepted, so he does like the money. He says the cash was a concern, so I guess he was expecting maybe a little bit more, but he likes it enough here that he's on board. So that's a massive contract for our captain. I don't even know, did I even name him captain yet? I feel like I must have, right? If I forgot to name him captain, that's not great. So let me actually take a look at this. Make sure we got him as captain. Because now I'm second guessing that I didn't name him captain yet. Okay, he is captain. Crane has an alternate captaincy. That's interesting that he's the one to get it. Dobson still has one as well. But Crane with an A. I don't mind it, but I don't know if he's the one that I would give that A to. Who would you guys give the A to if you were to give somebody else an A? Okay, anyways, let's go to the end of October, see if we could get off to a good start this year, because last year we fell apart quite early on in the season, and that's what kind of hurt us long term. We had a better second half, but let's get off to a good start this year, and maybe that could help us be a playoff team this year as well. So we lose our first game in a shootout 2-1, so at least that's a good defensive effort, it seems like. We lose our second game 6-2, that's not a good defensive effort. We win our third game, so a little bit inconsistent as per usual early on, and then we lose 2 straight games again, playing bad defensively. It's still early. Don't got to give my hopes up. Brett Berard for a 6th round pick. That's kind of an interesting deal. How good is Brett Berard? I don't even think I need somebody like Brett Berard, but let me take a look at him anyways. 80 overall. That's really not that bad. That's not that bad, giving up a 6th rounder for an 80 overall 4th liner. I'm not going to do it, but that's not a bad offer. I don't mind it. Game against Nashville to end off the month is another loss, so we're 1-4-1 in our first 6 games. Yet the coach thinks we're going to be a playoff team this year. That's a bit weird. Maybe we're obviously going to find ourselves in the next month. So far, though, Solovyov has a 9-12 through 5 games, so he is playing the best game of his career so far. But we're not scoring a lot of goals here early on. I don't know if I need to make any line adjustments yet or if it's too early to tell, because I don't want to overcomplicate things a bit. Ooh, let's go to Cook on that second line and Bjorkstrand on that top line. Maybe for something. Trying to think if this is the right setup. Pecker works also on the top pairing. Boyd could play right side as well. Sierra's technically a left defenseman, so we probably could go to something like that. Let's just do some sort of subtle change. Anyways, I don't even know if it's worth making a change at this point, but I'm just getting worried that this team's going to all of a sudden simulate so bad in the first 2 months that we're going to be out of the playoff picture come January 1st or something. So let's see if we can get a better month of November. If we have a better month of November, we're above 500 at that point, then this team might actually be a playoff team. But right now, it's a little bit of a slow start. A little bit of a slow start. Considering we had a long off season, we should be prepared for this, but let's go to the 20th first and foremost, the first few weeks. See if we could get above 500. So we start off with a shootout win over Montreal, which is a good sign. Winnipeg is a loss again, but we do beat Minnesota. Nice response, 5-1 victory. Game against New Jersey, 4-1 loss. Yeah, there's definitely is still inconsistencies right here early on. There's another loss in regulation and another one. Oh my god. Come on, guys. Give me 2 wins here. Give me 2 wins. Calgary, loss. Toronto, loss. 3-10-1. Okay, there needs to be some adjustments. I'm not too sure if it's the coaching staff or what, but something is not working right now here. Like, I'm glad we got Frondellery locked up because he would probably want to leave the team after this start. This is a terrible start, even worse maybe than last year. Let me take a look at Jenks again here. 64%. You think our team would be simulating better with that? It's very strange. Let me just demote him here for a second. How does Bo fit the team? Bo is a 58, so okay, that's not as good. Straka was our head coach last season. 65. Okay, maybe Straka should be back to being head coach, but the line's probably going to need to be reworked. Maybe I'm just overthinking things. I honestly don't know what we need to do. What has been bad for our team so far this year, though? We're dead last in goals for. 1.93 goals for per game. And we're third on the penalty kills, so we're an okay defensive team, like 20th in the league, but our offense is scoring under 2 goals per game. So we need to make some line adjustments and try and get that to start simulating better. I just don't know what it is. So if I go to, let's see, Lindros, wasn't he an offensive player? He is a sniper. If I move him up and move Zekov down to that 4th line instead, maybe that could do some things around. I don't even really know, to be honest. And then Bjorkstrand, Makinen, maybe swap Makinen and Poitras, swap Bjorkstrand and Cook. I don't even know what the heck the problem is. This offense, of course, should be better. Swap Hotman and Dobson, maybe? I honestly don't know what the problem is. This is a good-looking team to me, and they're not simulating that well. It's very strange. Alright, well, we're going to go with that and see if that helps for the rest of this month and all that, but so far the offense has been absolutely dreadful, which is very strange. Like, are we just screwed or what? Let's see what we do in these last 5 games in a month. We win that one, and Dobson's been injured after that change. Oh no, that's going to even make us worse offensively. He's out till December the 2nd, so it's not too long term, but out with a strained hamstring, that's a pretty big blow to our defense. Pittsburgh, we lose in overtime, so that's a point. We do lose to the Rangers in regulation. Philly is a shootout loss, and San Jose is a win. 5-11-3 in our first 18 games, as Dobson's already returned, which is good, but I'm very confused. Do you guys know what the weakness is or the problem is with this team in terms of simulation? As Pratt was getting his first few NHL games, which is nice, but what the hell's the problem? I got to definitely look at point production here soon, but I almost don't even want to simulate another month, but I feel like I probably have to. Like, if we're this bad still at the trade deadline, we might have to get Dobson to waive his contract as no movement. We might have to, or we could do that next season, but oh boy, this is a tight spot to be in at the start of the year. Like, we all of a sudden might go on a heater and start winning a lot of games too, because I have seen that happen, but this is a very questionable start. Are we still dead last in offense? Let's see. Yes, we are. 2.11, so we're starting to score a little bit more. We're 10th in goals against, though, so we are getting fantastic goaltending results from Solovyov. He has actually a 920. And we're good on the PK. It's just the offense is nowhere, which is strange because we have a great offensive defenseman. We have good offensive young guys, but it's not simulating that good offensively. I am very confused. I like that we're a good defensive team, but where's the offense when you need it? Let's simulate a little bit more and just see if this team all of a sudden starts to find its offensive game, because if we don't, we're going to be in a really bad spot. But if we start to find it, we could start to win games because we're playing great defensively right now. Game against Detroit is a loss 5-2, and that's not great defensively, and then we lose 4-1. Of course, I had the jinx to defensive play now. Ottawa's a 5-2 win. Nashville, 7-2 win. Okay, that's two good offensive games. 4-1 loss to New Jersey. Detroit is a 4-1 loss as well. And Boston's a 4-2 win. 8-15-3. I think we got to stop the simulation there because that is a pretty rough start. Pretty rough start. Like, we're digging ourselves into a bit of a hole here, which is not good at all. So let's see what's been the problem with our team here so far this season. Like, why aren't we winning games? We know that the offense is one of the major problems, but currently we are the second worst team in the league when we thought we were going to be maybe even better than that this season. But we are not off to a good start. The offense is the worst in the league, 2.35 goals for per game. We've scored 20 less goals than the Minnesota Wild, too. Goals against, though, 3.04 is pretty damn solid. That has us actually in the top 15, I think, in the league. And in our power play percentage, 13.6 is actually not terrible either. It's bad, but it's like closer to mid-table. And our penalty kill, 87.3%, is actually near the top. So we've been a good defensive team. Power play is a mixed bag. 5-on-5, we are really bad. We've already played a lot of road games this season, too. We've played 17 road games and only 9 home games. So maybe it's just the scheduling that's throwing us off. I don't even know. Let's take a look at these stats here so far, see what's been wrong with the team. But I don't even know. It's very strange. So Mäkinen on 16 points. We have Bjorkstrand on 14. Poitras only has 1 goal in 26 games. He is a penny free agent. 13 points. Yikes. Poitras has not been scoring. That is a bit of a strange one. We have Zikov on 12 points. He's actually been not bad, I would say, for a bottom 6 guy. Lindros on 5 points. Kaminsky on 5. So the young guys from the AHL not doing too much offensively for us. Crane on 17 points. Pretty solid. Frondell's also on 17 points. Olin's on 7. Only a -1 for him as well. And then Shala is only on 1 goal in 6 points. He has actually no power play time, so maybe that's the problem. I need to get him on the power play. Because I think last year he was on the power play. Yeah, last year he was on the power play and had 52 points. I need to get him on the power play. And he is listed as a second line forward, so we want to get him more ice time too. So I will put him on probably instead of Zikov. Cook on 13 points, only 10 goals. It's not terrible. But Colson's only got 3 points. He has not been that type of an offensive guy for the bottom 6 really at all. But yikes. Defensively, Hotman's on 17 points. He's looking good offensively. Dobson on 12. Samalainen 4. Pratt had an assist in his only 3 games, which is more than Pecker and Boyd have basically in point per game percentage. Sierra has no points so far as a two-way defenseman. Eek. Goaltending, Solovyov has a 917 somehow. I don't know how he has a 917 right now and how Bjarnason has a 913 without a win. But here we are. That's actually kind of insane. All right. Well, let me go to adjustments in terms of our lines. We aren't going to simulate anymore, but I am going to put Shala on the power play. And we might need to make some AHL call-ups in the next second half of the season. But let's go to power play here and get Shala on power play 2. Zikov will be coming out. And Shala, hopefully, will get his offense going, which will get our team going a bit more. Aside from that, like I said, we could make some AHL call-ups, potentially. Nobody's grown to start the season yet, but we could always call up some people, potentially. I don't know why our team is off to a bad start. Let's take a look at the AHL player stats, because I haven't taken a look at that too. Because I want to see if there's anybody that's actually been exceeding expectations down there. They're 11, 12, and 1, so they aren't simulating the best either, which is kind of a bit weird. Currently, though, in terms of player stats, that is notable. Ericsson's almost point per game, 22 points for him, so he's looking pretty good. He should be probably in the NHL next season if he doesn't come up later this season. Leahy's on 19 points, so he's been good again. Offensive awareness still needs a lot of growth, but his offensive passing is fantastic, so like that. Prince on 14, Giordano's on 13, alright. Looks like they're not getting the craziest scoring down there. Offensively, Unila on 20 points. Goaltending, Medvedov on an 875. Nikulin's on a 924, though. Yeah, I am stumped. I do not know what we need to do to start winning more games. We could all of a sudden win a lot more games in the next episode and somehow make the playoffs, but this coach said we were going to be a playoff team, yet this team has only 8 wins in its first. How many games have we played now? 26 games. So we need a way better half of December and rest of the season if we actually want to make it at this point. But I've been impressed with Houghton and Crane, I think. There's been a lot of guys under-assimilated, on this roster, and I've been very impressed with Solovyov's play so far. So that's at least good that he's starting to find himself, but the offense not so much. Last thing I want to take a look at is just a trading block, just in case. Actually, I should take a look at the draft class too, for that matter. We'll take a look at the trading block here first and foremost, just to see if there's anything that would be worth trading Dobson for if we get into that rebuilding state again. If we're trying to contend, obviously, and we're actually making the playoffs, we probably won't make any trades, but do want to see what's available in case. But yeah, I'm not too happy with how this team's been so far this year, which is very weird because we have a good team fit with the coach too. So you think we'd be doing better, but we aren't. Like, maybe I shouldn't have fired that A+ coach. Maybe I should have fired somebody else instead. I honestly don't know. But there is some interesting players on the block, a lot of prospects. Most of them are only medium 9s. So there is Cannon, who's a medium 6. I remember this guy because I joked about him being in Columbus. Last pick of the first round. He actually looks pretty solid, but he's not going to be good enough. We don't even need really prospects, really. So like, I don't even know if I'd trade Dobson this season, even if we don't contend. I feel like next season might be better for that if we aren't contending. But yeah, this team might be just cursed or something from the Lou era. Like maybe Lou left us with a curse when I joined the team. And his team was never supposed to win that much again. I don't know. Very strange. So if you guys see anything on this block, let me know. But I don't even think we'll make any trades to start next episode. I think we'll just obviously maybe make some adjustments in terms of our lines. See if we can find something that works. And we probably won't simulate the rest of the season in the next episode. It really depends, I guess, on how the team is doing. Like, if we start to find our game a bit more and we somehow get it back into a playoff mix, maybe we'll stop the simulation early in next episode. I don't even know. But yeah, we definitely need to surround our younger guys with some more vets or something like that. But I thought people like Shala at this point would be that type of vet, but they haven't been that good. But Colson, who we brought in, literally hasn't done that much either. So, and that's almost it. Nick Ehlers is in Vegas now. That's kind of weird. Washington with William Nylander. And Winnipeg with Gabe Valeri. There is some good veterans. Like, even Kyle Connors is 76. But, yeah. Alright, so there's that. Final thing, the draft class. If we are to not contend this year, is it okay? Is it okay? It's an average draft. Gustavo Noonan, a medium elite sniper, supposed to go first overall. So no franchise player this year, but I don't even feel like we need more prospects. There is a right-handed defenseman, Bill Yoshi. So we could use a right-handed defender, but there's another one in medium 4 in Gamble. But yeah, I don't even think this draft class is probably one of those ones that's worth even just tanking for. Like, we need to find a way to get this team to simulate like a team that should be this good. Let's see. Letovari, is he a lowly? Maybe. I don't even know. Oh, this guy might be a lowly. Dante Fox. Let's see. Not bad. He's probably a lowly based on 3 bars, but I don't know. And then Paddock. Ooh, 2 years out. Could be interesting too. So maybe there's actually some okay steals in this draft ahead, but obviously we don't care about the draft. We kind of want to focus on getting this team into the playoffs, and so far I don't even know if that's going to happen this season. But anyways, guys, that's going to do it for this episode of our New York Islanders franchise mode. So in next episode, we'll make some interesting decisions, maybe with the lineup, maybe in terms of how things are situated. But his team right now is dead last in offense, but is almost a top 10 defensive team. And really good on the penalty kill too, actually, for that matter. So how do we get this forward core to start scoring? Do we make some crazy adjustments in terms of how things are set up? Try and find the best chemistry, try and find which players fit on the right lines. I don't know, we need to do something. So anything down below, and I'll see you guys next time.